Today I'm going to read to you a story called The County Fair. It's written by Laura Ingalls Wilder, illustrated by Jody Wheeler. This is going to be an exciting story about a family going to the fair. Once upon a time, a little boy named Almanzo lived in a farmhouse in New York State countryside. He lived with his father, his mother, his big brother, Royal, and his two big sisters, Eliza, Jane, and Alice. They were all going to the fair. One early morning, they all set out for the county fair. Father placed under the buggy seat the box of pickles, preserves, jellies, under the buggy seat that Eliza and Jane and Alice had made. Alice was taking her woolwork embroidery too, but Almanzo Pickles had gone to the fair. Pumpkin had gone to the fair the day before in a wagon. It was too big to fit in the buggy. So Almanzo, he had a big pumpkin. How about that? He grew in the whole summer, I bet. The roads were filled with people in their best clothes, all going to the fair. Just look at them at the fair. Father, Mother, Royal, and the girls got out of the buggy at the fairgrounds, but Almanzo rode with Father to the sheds and helped unhitch the horses. So he was a helper with his dad. That's what he was. Almanzo wanted to see the animals first. He and Father went past the tall grandstand and the church building where Mother and the girls were helping to prepare dinner. Everywhere men were shouting, "Step this way, only 10 cents, and prizes for all." So that's what this little guy is doing right there. So here's Almanzo and his father right here. They're looking at everything at the fair. They're having fun. Finally, Almanzo and Father reached the stock sheds. In one stall were 3 large gray horses. Their necks were thick, and their heads were large, but their eyes were quiet and kind. Almanzo felt important and growing up, talking horses with Father. So right there, he's talking with his father about those 3 horses. They're having a lively conversation. Next to the horses, there was a crowd of men and boys around a stall. Not even Father could see what was in it. Almanzo squeezed between the legs until he came to the bars of the stall. Inside it were 2 black creatures he had never seen before. They were something like horses, but they weren't horses. Their ears were like rabbit ears, and their tails were almost bare. What kind of a animal is that? While Almanzo stared, one of these creatures pointed its ears at him and stretched out his neck and roared, "Yee-haw! Yee-haw!" Almanzo yelled and hurried back to Father. "It's only a mule, son," Father said, "and you're not the only one who was scared either." So he was scared of that donkey, or that mule, they called it. Almanzo and Father looked at the cattle and the young steers and the sturdy oxen. They looked at the big white hogs. Over here, they're checking they're not checking the hogs, they're checking the sheep right here. And the smaller black hogs. So they looked at the big white hogs and the smaller black hogs. Then they looked at sheep. Almanzo had not seen his pumpkin yet, but it was time to eat, and Almanzo was hungry. He's been looking at all these things at the county fair, and now he's hungry. I don't blame him with so many tempting food. The church dining room was already crowded. Everyone was talking and laughing, but Almanzo just ate. He ate ham and chicken and turkey. He ate potatoes and gravy, succotash, baked beans, onions, and bread. He ate pumpkin pie and custard pie and vinegar pie. There were berry pies and cream pies and raisin pies, but he could not eat one more bite. So he never ate the pies with the cream and the cream. At last it was time for the pumpkins to be judged. Almanzo saw at once that his pumpkin was the largest of them all. He tried not to care too much about the prize, but he wished everyone knew that the biggest pumpkin was his. So look at that big pumpkin of his. It's really, really big. And they're judging the pumpkins. The biggest judge took one pumpkin and cut a slice out of it. Then the judge cut open another pumpkin. Finally, he cut open Almanzo's own big pumpkin. All the judges looked carefully at the pumpkin slices. They tasted one slice and then another. Almanzo could hardly breathe. He was wondering and thinking, what are they thinking about my pumpkin? Finally, the tall judge took a blue ribbon out of his pocket. He stretched out his arm slowly and then pinned the ribbon to Almanzo's pumpkin. Father's hand clapped on Almanzo's shoulder. All at once, Almanzo couldn't breathe, and he was tingling all over. All the judges were smiling, and ever so many people said that. That's a fine pumpkin, Almanzo. So now they knew that the biggest pumpkin was his, and that's what he wanted people to know, that he had that big pumpkin. Afterwards, Almanzo went walking with Father through the fair. They watched the foot races and the jumping contests and the throwing contests. The boys from town were in all the contests, but the farmer boys won almost every time. Almanzo kept remembering his pumpkin pie, his prize pumpkin, and his pumpkin pie I'm sure he was thinking about, and feeling good that he had a blue. That's what he was happy about, that he got the first prize. Driving home that night, they all felt good. Alice's wool work had won first prize, and Eliza Jane had a red ribbon for her pickles, preserves, and Alice had a blue ribbon for her jellies. Father said the Wilder family had done itself proud that day, and they sure did. Look what they all won. That was really not wonderful. Almanzo was the proudest of all of them for his big, large pumpkin. How about that? And he put his blue ribbon right by his bed so he would know and remember what he got at the county fair. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, and God bless.